Let's talk about dogs with allergies. Our dogs have allergies because we have abused their intestinal system because we have fed them processed food. And just like in people, the incidence of allergy in children is 3 times higher if they are fed 2 processed food meals a week. Who on earth is feeding children processed food? Yeah, most of the population, I get it. Is we feed the processed food, that's the dry cat and dog kibble, and it causes inflammation in the intestinal tract, and the intestines become leaky gut syndrome. You've heard of it. Leaky gut syndrome. It's not that stuff is leaking from the body into the gut out. It's that what's in the gut is being absorbed into the body and is causing an allergic reaction. And that allergic reaction through the gut wall can be to food, but it can also be to what the animal's in contact with and has licked off their coat, or what they have taken into their gut because they're breathing it. So you can get all dogs with inhalation allergy, often called atopy, and we hardly ever diagnose contact allergies, it's way too difficult, and food allergies, all should be put on healthy diets, and they've become allergies probably. There is certainly an inherited predisposition. You know the breeds, every golden retriever, most boxers, whole lots of labs now. Who the heck wrecked these breeds? Every little white dog, you know, people walk in, I go, oh, it's a white dog, it's got an allergy. They go, how did you know? Yep. You know. And as for the shepherds, I don't know what their immune system's doing. We know Rottweilers don't have an immune system. So these dogs, 70% of the dog's immune system is in the wall of the intestines. 70% of the immune system, not the bone marrow, not the lymph nodes, not the spleen, in the wall of the intestines. 70% of your immune system. What you eat is what you are. And your intestinal biome is incredibly important, and you've all heard of people talking about intestinal biome, and it's going to be the big topic for the next 20 years. A couple of medical topics that really are going to be big. Intestinal biome is one, and new approaches to cancer is another one, not chemotherapy. So you need every animal with an allergy has to should pay attention to their intestinal system and what they eat. So that's the dogs, and so getting those dogs onto ROAR is really, really valuable. I change every dog with allergies. I change all their food, even if they have classic signs of inhalation allergy. Other medical problems, of course, your chronic vomiting and diarrhea. We've already got rid of the dog's worms. We know the dog doesn't have a foreign body. We've got rid of the obvious things. Most chronic or intermittent vomiting and diarrhea are a food problem. And they get biopsies done, and it comes back lymphocytic, plasmacytic enteritis. What do you think is causing that? They're all cells of allergy. It's food allergy. Like, I say to my colleagues, duh, what else do you think it is? Solving the food allergy problem is another issue, but that's why there's pork. Pork has not been put into dog foods. I don't know, well, the cost is probably why. Pork's not been put into dog food. The other reason is pork used to be very fatty, and so it was very difficult to formulate a pork diet, particularly a dry pork diet, because of the fat content. Pork now, of course, is much leaner, and the most common food allergy we used to see documented was beef, but now it's chicken. And so now with the cat, and this is cats as well, cats with skin problems, cats with any vomiting, cats with diarrhea, it's food allergy. Now, I can't always, it can be difficult to work out what they're allergic to. I can't always get the patient to eat what I want, and I can't always get the owner to feed what I want, like perfectly raw pork. Some of them are going to stay on kibble, and you have foods, and you know which foods are in your stores that have no chicken. Chicken fat is chicken. Eggs is not. Egg is not chicken. Egg is a different allergen. Now, why is that different? It's from a chicken. I get it. It's undoubtedly the processing. I have two patients that were diagnosed as through history with the owner allergic to chicken. They knew it was allergic to chicken because when they gave chicken dog food, the dog had diarrhea within a couple of hours. It was a direct line. This was not rocket science. So they come back in individually, but come back in about 3 to 6 months later and said, yeah, but he can eat real chicken. And I'm just thinking, how did they work that out? I know how they worked it out. The husband was out at the barbecuing chicken, and the dog was there, and he gave the dog chicken. The wife comes out and said, you idiot! The dog's going to have diarrhea all over the house. The dog doesn't have diarrhea. Husband got one thing right that month. This is good. Okay, so, but what happened is they discovered that their dog could eat real, unprocessed, cooked, but not through the extrusion process meat, but they couldn't eat the processed dog food with that meat in it. So I think the difference between the eggs and the chicken is probably due to the processing. Getting them off the chicken. So you've got to watch, and I tell every client, read the ingredient list every time you buy a bag of food. I think it's really handy for your staff to have a magnifying glass and a good light in the store, because a lot of those descriptions are very small. So that's allergies. We change food. One of the magic foods, I think the pork will be incredibly useful for a lot of dogs. And I'm just going to come back to Nature's Variety. Nature's Variety Instinct Raw Rabbit has saved a whole lot of cats. It's expensive, but it's a cat. So it's not that expensive on a daily basis. Other problems is I talked about the diarrhea with large dogs needing more fiber. Pancreatitis. Pancreatitis, now you've got a problem here because what I'm going to tell you, most vets don't know yet. Pancreatitis is not caused usually by a fatty meal, and it's not caused by bacteria, despite the fact that vets invariably give antibiotics to a dog that they've diagnosed pancreatitis. Pancreatitis is a food allergy and requires steroids to reduce the inflammation for the 3 days and get the dog back eating, and then we should be paying attention to what's the dog allergic to. It requires a food change. And that's where a perfectly raw or a homemade diet comes into practice. So you've got a problem, but you don't go there with the antibiotics. Leave that alone. That's going to take a while to get rid of. But go with pancreatitis is part of what is called triaditis. Tri meaning 3, itis meaning inflammation of. Inflammation of the intestinal tract, of the pancreas, and the liver. And these dogs have inflammation of all 3. Triaditis, of course, is one of the most stupid names. Triaditis says inflammation of 3 things. Which 3 things? And what's the cause? I don't know. Triaditis is a food allergy. What else? What other problems? Pancreatitis, diabetes. We avoid diabetes in cats by not feeding them dry cat food. Dry cat food is a straight line to diabetes because of the carbohydrate content. Obesity in cats is very bad and predisposes them to diabetes. Diabetes in dogs typically is from chronic recurrent pancreatitis. Plus, in miniature schnauzers, they have an inherited incidence of about 50%, that's half of them, of high triglyceride fat levels. It's called hypertriglyceridemia. It's more commonly called hyperlipidemia, which means high fat levels, but it's the triglycerides. Every schnauzer from 5 years on, miniature schnauzer from 5 years on, should have fasting triglycerides done every year. Because high triglyceride levels damage the liver, damage the heart, damage the kidneys, but cause chronic recurrent pancreatitis leading to diabetes. And when those dogs get diabetic, if their triglycerides are not brought right down, you cannot control the diabetes. So unfortunately, the vets that don't know and test every year for the hypertriglycerides also don't know about controlling it, and then they end up on my doorstep and they're disasters. And then we get them going well and so forth. Okay, I'm going to stop and